And we stood outside of 9 Marketplace, and of course this particular plaque commemorates another important Dickens connection. So what's this plaque commemorating, Alan?
Well, this was the clock shop of Thomas Humphreys. He had 2 shops, and though this one is immediately opposite the King's Head where Dickens was staying, it wasn't occupied by Humphreys at the time. It was another one which we'll deal with later. But the Humphreys connection with Dickens is that Dickens used his name and the reference to a clock in a kind of journal that he wrote, in which he incorporated other novels. The story was about a group of people who met at the house of a Master Humphrey in London. The name is based on Humphreys, who lived in Barnard Castle. The difference is minus an S. Humphreys was the Barnard Castle man, Humphrey is the London man. Humphreys made clocks. The London man did not make clocks but owned an immense clock. So if you put the two together, Master Humphrey's clock comes from Barnard Castle but gets transported to London. And the idea was that a group of his friends, this is fictitious, met in the old bachelor's house in the evenings, and they drew manuscripts out of the bottom of this capacious grandfather clock that he owned. And they read them to each other as stories. In this way, they introduced other novels. So Master Humphrey's Clock is not a novel by Dickens, it's a journal which incorporates the Old Curiosity Shop and Barnaby Rudge, for example. It wasn't actually much of a success. The Old Curiosity Shop stands much better by itself, and so does Barnaby Rudge. And after he finished Barnaby Rudge, Dickens decided to stop the clock. There are 2 premises, we'll come across the other one later.
Yes, the second premise is number 16 in our route, and as you say, we'll come across that later. Before we get there, though, Thomas Humphreys as a clockmaker, do we know very much about him, and is there much of his clocks watches still in existence?
Yes, Thomas Humphreys was really quite a well-known clockmaker. He'd served a 9 years apprenticeship before he set up his own shop, and his son carried on one in Hartlepool. And after Humphreys died, his daughter-in-law continued the Barnard Castle business, though I don't think she was actually a clock and watchmaker herself. She more dealt in what was left in stock when the old man died, and also dealt in trinkets and gifts and things like that. But the family were making clocks throughout the reigns of 4 monarchs. It was a very well-known and well-established firm. Yes, it's almost certain that Dickens met Humphreys, and I think Humphreys' business thrived because of his connections with Dickens, because he moved upmarket, literally, from Amen Corner, which is the junction of Newgate and the Bank, into this place where we are now. And when the old man died, his daughter-in-law carrying on the business went slightly down market because she was not so famous, and she moved a few doors further downhill.